the guys that have never played for Ireland were really excited for the opportunity to represent their families, their heritage, their ancestry, and to meet guys who had played for Ireland. And some of the families and the players that have played for Ireland, a few of them told me that this is what it feels like to play for Ireland. It's rewarding to hear that, and it also reinforces the need to keep this going.
Hello, and welcome to episode 65 of the Irish Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Becker. You just heard from John Fitzgerald, founder of the Irish American Baseball Society. He was talking about how the players felt after last month's game between the Irish Wolfhounds and the NYPD Finest Baseball Club. John will have a full recap of that game on today's show, but he'll also be talking about the next Irish Wolfhounds game. For tickets and more information, head to irishbaseball.org. Before we talk with John, I'm going to welcome broadcaster Sam Davis, who has a quick interview with Devin Hayes, a pitcher with the Irish Wolfhounds. Take it away, Sam.
I'm Sam Davis, now joined by pitcher Devin Hayes. Devin, thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
So, Devin, you have some experience yourself pitching and playing for Ireland. You played on the Irish national team in 2018. So what was that experience like for you, representing your country through the game of baseball?
It was awesome. I told people before, like the years prior, I had missed. So my dad's from Ireland. All my family on his side, it lives in Ireland. And I had missed the frequent trips to Ireland in college because I was playing baseball. So it was actually really awesome to be able to play in front of my family, my Irish family and relatives there. I had about, I think, 10 or 15 of them come out to the championship game that Sunday in Ashburn. So it was awesome to finally be able to kind of play for my dad, play for Ireland, and then play in front of his family, to be able to like kind of enjoy that all together. That weekend was kind of like one of the cooler experiences in my life.
You mentioned your dad, growing up in Ireland. For you personally, how important do you think it is for growing the sport of baseball in Ireland, in the country? And how do you think a team like the Irish Wolfhounds can help kind of get that ball rolling and kind of help make that happen?
I think, the Wolfhounds are kind of a lot of like the baseball talent that have Irish heritage can like help basically share the love of the game, especially like some of the guys that have played either at the higher levels or kind of have played for a long time, being able to share that with, the Irish, culture, kind of bridge that, bring that over, or kind of help them kind of learn and enjoy and kind of share that love that we have for the game of baseball kind of with them. And I think that's kind of cool of experience too for me when we went over there to Ireland in 2018 and the next year we actually did camps. And so it was really cool to be able to share that with like young Irish kids just going out of the field and kind of sharing that. I was actually and currently am a coach now. So it's kind of like always been, kind of a big thing for me to be able to share the love of the game that I have, kind of how I got into it, why it's such a big deal in my life and big part of my life, and kind of be able to show that to other people as well.
You mentioned getting into the game of baseball. I'm curious, from a younger age, how did you get involved into the sport? What made you kind of grow and sort of begin to start loving the sport of baseball?
I honestly think it's because my dad was learning it when I was too. So I lived in California and he was a San Francisco Giants fan, loved Barry Bonds, and he would just watch the games. And then we kind of, when I started playing t-ball and everything, he was coaching me and he was picking it up as I was picking it up. And so we kind of learned it together. It was kind of like our experience where it wasn't something where he was, passing a ton of knowledge on to me, but it was kind of, we were in it together, learning it, and can kind of grow and, have that shared experience of him helping me out with things and throwing BP to me, batting practice to me and that. So it was kind of something we were able to learn together. And I think that was, pretty important in my love for baseball, just like something I could share with him, my family too.
I'm Rick Becker, host of the Irish Baseball Podcast, and I'm happy to bring John Fitzgerald back on the show. Thanks for being here, John.
Thanks, Rick. Glad to be here.
So our organization took a huge step last month in June with the Irish Wolfhounds playing their first official game, taking on the NYPD Finest Baseball Club. A big 9-1 win, but the score isn't the biggest part of this story. This was a huge event, and why don't you talk about, before we get to the baseball aspects of this game, talk about some of the things that surrounded it. the guests of honor that we had there, the dual national anthems. I mean, this was a big deal and a lot was happening.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of planning went into that. The half hour before the game, we had the Ashling Irish Center, which is a Irish community center in Yonkers, New York, and they sent up their children's choir to sing both the Irish and the American national anthems, and then we had the Irish consulate came out, and the consul general gave a pep talk to the team, and then I think his title is the vice consul general. He threw out the first pitch, and so what we wanted to do was show the players, their families, the Irish community, the Irish American community, and just baseball fans that were tuning in. We didn't want them to just tune in and see the game start. We wanted them to tune in and be reminded that this was something that was different and hopefully bigger, not in terms of like theatrical, but bigger in terms of the meaning of what this means to the players, what this could mean to baseball in general, and then the World Baseball Classic, and what it could mean for Ireland and baseball in Ireland. So, I think it went really well as far as, all of that being conveyed, and from talking to some players and their family members, it seems that, the point got across, like, and they all knew it going in, but it's always good to kind of, remind everybody that, like, hey, this is about baseball, and this is about Ireland, and this is big. So hopefully that got across, but that was the whole purpose of all of that.
And I think when we get to the actual baseball and we talk about a 9-1 win, and I don't think a lot of people are aware the quality of play for the NYPD finest baseball club. I mean, you hear that and you think a bunch of cops who just, play in their spare time. But these are guys who played at the professional level, played at the college level. This is not people who don't live in New York thinking about their police officers in their city putting together a baseball team. Like, this is a loaded ball club. And to beat them 9-1 was a pretty big statement for the Irish Wolfhounds.
Yeah, the NYPD, that team has been around for about, I think, 30 years. And before that, the NYPD has always had a team, I think. And so they know how to play the game. Some of the guys are a little bit older, but they're like you said, they're former college and pro players. They put on a good game. I mean, the game was close up until I think we were tied, and we were up 2-1, and then in the eighth inning we blew it open. So it wasn't really about the score; it was about having a good, solid game. We didn't want to blow out either way, and the way it worked out, it was exciting baseball. But yeah, the NYPD, they're one of the police and fire teams. There's a handful of them across the country, and there's an FDNY team, there's the NYPD team, there's a team in Boston, down in Philadelphia. They play each other, and it's good baseball. That was a great opponent to have, especially the first time, because everybody knows the NYPD. Everybody, has an understanding of what they're about, what they do. They're all cops. They're from across New York City, so they all have like a story, and people resonate with that. And then here we come in as the first all Irish baseball club, so it's like, we weren't like adversarial or anything like that, but it was just two teams with two very interesting stories and perspectives and fan bases. So I think it worked out real well. But the important part was we didn't want a team that we were going to blow out, and we didn't want a team that like was going to be kind of like a professional team, because what we're trying to do is kind of mimic the skill level that a team would play in the European B pool. And the NYPD, I could say objectively, would do fairly well at the European B pool level where Ireland's playing next year. I mean, I would hazard to guess they would probably be in the top 3 or 4 teams. They're a very good ball club, and they play solid fundamental baseball.
So with Ireland playing in the B pool in the European Championships, what would they have to do? I know you've talked about this a lot throughout the organization to start the process of qualifying for the World Baseball Classic.
So Ireland has to win next year's B pool in 2024, and then they go to the A pool in 2025. And in the A pool, they have to place in the top. It's probably going to be the top 5 or 6. They don't have to place any higher than any team that's already qualified for the WBC. So in Europe, the teams that have qualified for the WBC, off the top of my head, would be Czech Republic, the Netherlands, Italy, Israel, and there's one more I'm forgetting. But anyway, I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Ireland needs to place right behind them, and then they would get into the WBC qualifiers. So we think the team we have would be very competitive in that A pool in 2025. And obviously, you're going to find, an additional bat, an additional arm, and we feel like those players are out there. And if you add a few pieces to what we already have, you potentially have a team that gets the WBC qualifiers. And at that point, maybe you added another bat and another arm, and those extra pieces are most likely guys in minor league baseball. And so then all of a sudden, you take the core of what we had at the first game, and you add some minor league players to that core, and you now have a team that could do some damage in the WBC qualifiers. And so it's a process. And if you follow any team that's been to the World Baseball Classic, you see along the way they add to their core. Maybe a couple of guys drop off, a couple of guys are added in. Guys start to gel. They play together over time, and the coaching staff starts to understand what guys can and can't do. Roles change, and then they get to the WBC, and suddenly they're a WBC team. And you look back and you're like, well, wow, not that much change, but kind of the whole thing changed in certain respects. So when you see the Wolfhounds team, like, this is a team that has a path that could easily win the B pool, could easily, get to the A pool and do well. And then, things change and things happen, and excitement builds, and you see where you are. And we feel really confident that this core that we have can really get there.
I think one of the things that impressed me the most about this first effort for the Irish Wolfhounds is how it looked for somebody who couldn't make it to the game. I live in Florida. I was watching it on my laptop, but then you also watch some of the clips that are being posted online by the Irish American Baseball Society. And this looked like you were watching at least a minor league baseball game. It looked professional. It wasn't one of those situations. I talk about the NYPD Finest Baseball Club. Like, everybody looked like they were ready to step into a professional game. The plays that were made were sharp baseball plays. What went into making sure this just looked professional? I mean, everything from the videography to having a great play-by-play guy to the jerseys. Like, there was a lot that had to go into making this thing professional, and to having the Irish Wolfhounds be something that isn't just something you're putting together. It's something that is professional and shows up looking like anything else you'll see if you go to a minor league baseball game.
Yeah, we didn't have much room for error. I mean, we could have built this slow and played on high school baseball fields and built it over time. But, realistically, this all has to kind of come together by next summer. That's when, Ireland's going to play, and we need to get a team together. We need to show that there are players. We need to demonstrate there's enough talent. And game one had to kind of go off without a hitch. And in order to do that, we needed to show people, we want to show this talent level to people in Ireland, in the US, and across the world. So we had to live stream it. So, we did it at a minor league stadium. We were invited to play by the NYPD, and it all kind of fell into place that we were going to be able to utilize the cameras and the technology that the minor league stadium has. The uniforms, we've been selling the hats, and we've been selling a version of that uniform for a couple of years, and fans have resonated with it. They like the designs, the symbolism of it. So like, that was an important piece of it to tie that all together. And the play-by-play, we had we actually had Sam Davis, who's a recent graduate of Fordham University, and I was looking for an announcer. I found Sam's demo reel. I thought it was solid. I said, hey, this is kind of a weird, different thing. If you're interested, you can do the game. And the initial idea was he was going to kind of do it like Vin Scully. He was going to do a one-man call. And then I spoke to the New York Boulders play-by-play guy, Mark Ernay, and Mark was just like, I'm doing a game that night. If you want me to come in the booth, I'll be happy to team up with Sam. And they hit it off. And so, like, the team itself, some of the guys were meeting each other for the first time. The broadcast crew met each other for the first time. We had our assistant general manager, Pat Smith, who's been his uncles played for Team Ireland 15 years ago. But this was his first time in the role as like an assistant GM. Like, everybody had a role, everybody did their job, but everybody knew that this had to go off without a hitch, and all they had to do was focus on their job, whether they were on the field, in the dugout, in the bullpen, in the press box, and they all did fantastic, at what they needed to do, and that's why it all came together, is because everybody kind of just focused on what they needed to do, and they did it. Yeah, it was real exciting. It was an exciting thing to be a part of, and I think that it was so successful that it became a no-brainer that we not only should do it again, but we kind of needed to do it again to show that this is not a one-off, that these players can play together, and that they can really do this.
And I know I've seen from the social media, the fan reaction to this game has been immense. I think everybody who went to it, who attended, has posted a selfie somewhere on the internet that I've seen, because people were so excited to get out and catch the Irish Wolfhounds. What has been your sense from the players on the club? What has been the feedback you've heard from them after going through the first game as a team?
Yeah, I think the guys that have never played for Ireland were really excited for the opportunity to represent their families, their heritage, their ancestry, and to meet guys who had played for Ireland. And some of the families and the players that have played for Ireland, a few of them told me that this is what it feels like to play for Ireland. It's rewarding to hear that, and it also reinforces the need to keep this going, because we don't want to just have a one-off. The initial idea was to have a one-off game, demonstrate how much talent's out there, have a good, experience for everybody, and then, submit those players as candidates for the national team. But it was so successful that we decided it does make sense to keep these guys playing together for a number of reasons. Number one, there's an excitement that a lot of fans, want to experience this either in person or live on the live stream. Maybe some people didn't get to see it, but there are more fans out there, and we need to reach them. And then there's also the possibility that we may generate more interest and find some more players that, like I said before, we've got a core now. It would be good to add, a bat and an arm here or there, and playing more does that. It gives you that opportunity to find more players, and just the general excitement. It's always good to play baseball, and if you can play a game and if you can put a team on the field, why wouldn't you? So it was I wouldn't call it a good problem to have, but it was something that we didn't anticipate. It was just, the situation was everything went off so well that we decided, like, well, I mean, why wouldn't we do this again? And so, so the general template we're going to try to follow at this point is we're going to try to play police and fire teams once a month and do it at either a minor league ballpark or a college stadium. And the reasons for that are everything we discussed. You want to have that professional type atmosphere. You want to be able to live stream it, and you want fans to be able to join in either in person or on the internet. So that's what we're going to try to do, and we'll see how far we can go.
Well, John, when is the next one then?
The next one is July 15th. It's going to be a night game. We're going to start at 6 o'clock on Staten Island, the home of the Staten Island Ferry Hawks, which is the former home of the Staten Island Yankees. So it's a beautiful ballpark. and we're really looking forward to it. We're going to be playing the New York State Court Officer Blue Sox.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for all you're doing for Irish baseball, and of course, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
For tickets or more information about the Irish Wolfhounds, head to irishbaseball.org. I'm Rick Becker, and this has been episode 65 of the Irish Baseball Podcast.